Hello and welcome to another episode of The Weighing Room, where the three of us are back again to preview a decent weekend of action from Kempton, Lingfield and Newcastle on ITV, with 7 live races to get stuck into. A mix of both flat and jumps racing for us to have a go at this week, which is nice actually, isn't it? We were speaking just off air, a bit of flat racing, and the Lincoln, to be fair, the Lincoln handicap is not too far away now, so it's good for us to have a little delve into the all-weather. Frankie, how are you?
Yep, all good. Pretty steady, to be honest. Steady couple of weeks. Really, same as everyone, isn't it? You have a quiet little dip before Cheltenham. I am doing the Sandown card actually on the Saturday before Cheltenham, which will be a new one for me. But yeah, for the next 2 weeks, I'm at home. I'm digging through Cheltenham handicaps, and then obviously this weekend, looking ahead to the weekend's racing with a bit of flat racing, which I'm not too bothered about. I'm actually quite excited for the flat to come back around this season, but. Yeah, bigger things to come first.
Yeah, it is. It is the calm before the storm, isn't it? Before Cheltenham, what, just over 2 weeks away. And Paul, how's things over in Ireland?
Yeah, good flying. Nearly had the shorts on now the last couple of days. We've had a bit of warm weather. I think we're set to.
What was that? Two degrees at Dundalk?
Not quite. I think we're set to get as high as 12 this afternoon, which will be nice. But I think we're due a bit of a cold snap. I think generally get it towards the end of the month, don't we? But we'll take that. 12 degrees now towards the end of February now. We'll take that for sure. But good car, competitive car at Dundalk tonight. Over here, we've got a couple of good cars. We've got Fairyhouse to look forward to on Saturday afternoon, Naas on Sunday, so that's pretty good. And then, as you mentioned, we've got a pretty competitive action to cover now in today's show. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yep, bang on there. We're going to start and kick off the show from Lingfield on the flat this week, and it is the listed Heavis Sprint Stakes over 5 furlongs. And Paul, we're going to kick off with you this week. Obviously, you've had your ear to the ground at Dundalk on the flat, so we thought we'd start with you this week as we are kicking off with a flat race. This listed Sprint Stakes over 5 furlongs. Obviously, we've seen a lot of familiar faces in the race, isn't it? Some sprinters coming back to start their season. So, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, it's tricky enough now. I've gone with Exalted Angel for Carl Burke and Clifford Lee. He's posted a number of fine efforts over 6 furlongs in recent months. He is tricky. He looks to maybe not quite stay the 6 furlongs, but maybe isn't sharp enough over 5. It's been a while since his last victory, but on his recent effort, he tired to finish third at 10 over 6 furlongs at Lingfield when last seen. That was in a fast track qualifier on February the 4th. He has finished second to Mums Tipple and third behind Summergand in the past. I think a strongly run 5 furlongs will suit. He's got a nice drawn stall 5, and that might just do the trick for Exalted Angel.
Yeah, Exalted Angel, 13-2 currently in the market. And actually, when he ran on Boxing Day, I was at Wolverhampton and I backed him that day, and he just didn't get home in the end. He just finished second, but definitely got a chance. And Frankie, who are you going for in this one?
I'm in the same boat, yeah, Exalted Angel. Look, I know he hasn't had a success in a while. His form reads 0 or 3, 2, 2, 3. He has been in the placings, and you are getting an each way price. As Paul mentioned, he probably does most of his best work at 6. But I do think this is a slightly easier race. He's had Tone the Barone and Alligator Alley behind him before as well. I think this just represents a slight ease in the class of competitors, which should give him a chance of going one better than those couple of seconds. And at an each way price, I'm happy to play that, because if he does come in the placings again, worse off for about a 13-2 bet.
Yeah, going with Exalted Angel then again at 13-2. So 2 votes for the Carl Burke horse. I thought this race was extremely tough. It's full of very unreliable horses. They can chuck in a great run and then chuck in 5 bad ones, can't they? The one I came down on the end, probably one of the most unreliable in the field, but on his day, Arecibo, similar price to yours two at 13-2 for Robert Cowell. He's a really smart sprinter on his day. This guy, he's not easy to train at all. Like I said, he's put up some superb performances throughout his career. Look, he's 8 years of age now, and probably filtering out to the end of his career, but he's still got one big run left, a few big runs. And as like you said, I don't think this is the best race in the world, or even though these are all sprinters that are familiar faces, they're probably not at the peak of their powers anymore. So you're looking for that one just to just to throw it down off a bit of old form. And I think Arecibo can do. Look, he's lost his way a few times in his career, but he's always bounced back with a good performance. And what he did on his last run to date in August in the listed Beverly Bullet, he finished a really good second to Tis Marvellous, who's not bad round that track. Jamie Spencer's on board. He's drawn in stall 2. I just thought 13-2 with a lot of these in the field, you can take on, really. I thought I'll give Arecibo a go. With Jamie Spencer, definitely a big bonus, I think, from stall 2. But again, very, very tentative in that race. And maybe overall, want to keep your powder dry, isn't it, with better betting races we're going to cover throughout this pod. Right then, we're going to go over to the jumps now at Kempton for their first race on ITV. It's the 150 Grade 2 Adonis Juvenile Hurdle, over 2 miles. This is one of the last opportunities for juveniles to put their hat in the ring for the Triumph or really the Boodles. And this year, it looks an okay Renault, doesn't it? Like the Adonis is the Adonis. It's a Grade 2 that's right before Cheltenham, so it's not going to attract the best horses in the world, but there's still some good ones. We've got Scriptwriter at 2-1 at the top of the market, who obviously, if running well, will definitely be going to the Triumph. We've got Nusret at 4-1 that was trimmed in from 6s for Joseph O'Brien, the Irish Raider. Rare Middleton, 4-1 for Paul Nichols, who's a bit of the unknown in the field. Perseus Way, 7-1 for Gary Moore, and 10-1 bar them. Frankie, we'll start with you on this one. Who do you like?
Yeah, I was going backwards and forwards on the top 2 for a while, to be honest. Scriptwriter's obviously putting 2 decent efforts at Cheltenham, and when getting beaten by Comfort Zone, maybe just hit the front a bit soon and kind of wandered around a little bit. Nusret's also just been beaten by Comfort Zone last time. There's a couple in here, actually. There's another that's finished behind Comfort Zone. So they've all got a little bit similar form there. I wonder if this good ground might unlock a little bit more of Nusret. We've seen him twice. Once, the first time, really impressive behind Gala, Marceau and Lossiemouth, who I would have a much higher caliber than Scriptwriter. I really liked that run. And then last time out, maybe you could argue slightly disappointing in the race that Blood Destiny won when just behind Comfort Zone, but it was pretty testing conditions. And this horse obviously a flat convert that we haven't actually seen over hurdles on good or better ground yet. So he's had to get hurdling over quite testing conditions. I think it was a little bit quicker. And looking at that run behind Gala Marceau, which I would hold in higher regard, I think could be the best in here. And when you look at the prices, that kind of swayed me even more. So, yeah, Nusret, I think it's got a fantastic chance.
I could not put it better myself.
I saw you nodding along.
Yeah, like a Churchill dog I was then. Because Nusret, I think 4-1. I think that's big value in this field. Look, I'm not saying Scriptwriter isn't the horse to beat, and Scriptwriter deserves to be favourite. I'm not saying that, but if you look at what Nusret has done on soft, heavy ground, like you said, against the likes of Lossiemouth, Gala Marceau, that have come out, won Grade 2s, Grade 1s, Blood Destiny last time out, he's a Grade 1 performer and he's going to go close in the Triumph. That was on extremely heavy ground. And it almost looked to me on that day that Daryl Jacob just didn't really want to get too close when Blood Destiny is gone. It was a bit of a farce of a race. It was almost like a save the mark race. I think they've looked at it now and thought, you know what, we probably won't go to Cheltenham. We might even go to Aintree and we'll give him a run here in a Grade 2 where he's got a very good chance of landing a bit of black type. I think the good ground is the massive factor in this, like you said, Frankie. If you look back throughout his flat career, around July, he raced at the Curragh on good ground, and it was one of his best performances on the flat. I just think it'll be the making of him, this good ground. And I think at 4-1, getting £5 off Scriptwriter, he was the player in this race. Look, what does it say for English juveniles if this horse is getting absolutely slammed, but 16 lengths by Lossiemouth and then 18 lengths by Blood Destiny and then goes and wins this race? I think that will be the case. But what does it say for English juveniles when going to the festival? You've got to look at it both ways, but I do think Nusret will go on to win this race. So I'm with you there, Frankie. Paul, you making it a hat-trick or you going elsewhere?
I'm going elsewhere. I think he's going to come up short. I think Scriptwriter is the one they'll have to catch here. I think Rare Middleton will need to be pretty awesome, I think, to score here. I think a bigger challenge might come. Perseus Way is interesting at the prices. I think he has a good squeak on that run at Chepstow in December, where he finished third behind Comfort Zone. He was only beaten 2.25 lengths on that occasion. I think he's a bit of a price here. I wouldn't find anyone off having a small wager on Perseus Way, but I think Scriptwriter, he boasts the best form in the book. He was second in his Triumph Trial behind Comfort Zone at Cheltenham in January. He won a Grade 2 at Cheltenham back in November, and I think Scriptwriter is the one they'll have to catch here.
Yeah, solid for Scriptwriter. And look, he's obviously got a big chance. But this is what the game's all about, different opinions, isn't it? So we'll have to see. Back over to Lingfield then for their final race on ITV. And it's their feature race. It's the Group 3 Winter Derby Stakes over 1 mile 2 furlong. And we see again some familiar faces go to post. Lord North at the top of the market. He was second in this race last year at 4-5. Forrester Dean for the same trainer, Jonathan Gosden, 11-2. Tyrrhenian C, 13-2 for Roger Varian, and then the Gosdens have had another go with Harrovian, 9-1, and then it's 18-1 bar that. Paul, we'll start with you again on the flat. Who do you like?
I think on ratings, Lord North should carry these, and the price reflects that. He's the one they'll have to beat. However, from a betting perspective, I take a chance in each way squeak for a King of the South with Jamie Spencer on board. I'm taking a chance that we might just see a Spencer special here. He's going to drop out and play his hand late and try and nick a bit of place money. He'll try and get on the podium. So that's what I'm going to anticipate here. And yeah, I think King of the South will be doing his best work late on. And I think he's a bit right about the 20-1 mark, is he?
20-1, yeah. 20-1.
It's a bit of each way value for King of the South.
Yeah, good shout. 20-1. Well, you've got 8 runners currently at the moment. So 3 places on offer. 20-1. Yeah, not a bad shout. And probably a good way to play this race. Frankie, for you?
Yeah, like I was trying to find an each way angle here, and I kind of went through the field and just decided that I didn't think anything was good to beat Lord North, and that's obviously reflected, as Paul said, in the price and in the ratings. But there wasn't anything that was screaming out to me as a decent each way bet, so I'm just going to stick with the favourite. He was second in this last year. You know, he's got the form. He's the highest rated in here. He didn't have any sort of prep run coming to this last year, so that wouldn't worry me. I know some of these are match fit, and he's not necessarily, but they did the same last year, and I think they'll be hoping to go one better with him. There's a slight bit of doubt gets put in your mind that John and Thady Gosden have chucked 2 others in here, so they're having a real crack, and you know it's almost like backup ammo. But I do think he's the one they got to beat. It's nothing interesting from me. I couldn't find anything to beat him, really.
Yeah, I couldn't add more either. Like, it's boring, and he's short of 4-5, but I couldn't find anything in the field at all to take him on with. It's hard with the likes of Forrester Dean and Harrovian because you know they're decent horses, but they're not special horses. Tyrrhenian C, flattered to deceive on a lot of times for Varian when looking like a horse that could be quite decent. Fox's Tails again has faded away and he's 18-1 for a reason, but that he has got a good run in him. I just thought behind Lord North, I thought Lord North could be at 80% here and win the race, and I think he probably will be. He's obviously going to go on to Maidan looking to land the Dubai Turf for a third time in a row. So look, he's contested in Group 1s like the Tattersall Stakes, Prince of Wales Stakes, Coral Eclipse last season. Although he hasn't won any of them last season, he wasn't too far behind the leaders, and he's landed Group 1s like the Prince of Wales Stakes, and like I said, the Group 1 Dubai Turf on 2 occasions. He's a class act, absolute class act compared to these. And all I know he's 7 years of age now, but he's just far better than these, and I couldn't find anything to take him on with. So boring, but I think Lord North will get the job done at 4-5. Right, back over to Kempton again then for another Grade 2. It's a Grade 2 Pendle Novices Chase over 2 mile 4.5 furlongs. And this race hasn't attracted the biggest field in the world, but it looks very competitive. I think if you look at Boot Hill at the top of the market, 7-4. That's All Right Gino, 3-1. Solo, 7-2. Tweed Skirt getting the weight for the mares, allowance 11-2, and JJ Riley 14-1. Frankie, are you taking on the favourite here?
I am, but I ummed and ahed about it a lot. This is really competitive, I think. I think it's a good race. And, you know, Boot Hill's the right favourite, but the step up in trip does pose a question. Solo's the one I'm going to side with. whose form reads first, second, and second in handicaps, racing in all of those off of top weights. I know he wasn't quite good enough last year in graded company, but he has progressed, I think, and held his own in those handicaps. And the two horses that have beat him are Thunder Rock and Balco Coastal. Both of those ran a cracker behind Jerry Colombe, who's now market leader for the festival. They weren't far behind Jerry Colombe. Solo was a little way back. If you watch it back, Cobden knew that he was clear of third, so he could ease Solo down. This horse, 2.5, is his bread and butter. He's ran well, like I said, in 3 good handicaps, carrying top weight in all of them. And I think coming into this grade 2, could now have a decent chance. And, this would be classic Nichols to campaign one like that and progress it, winning handicaps, and then come into a grade 2 and win a race like this. So Solo's the one I'm going to side with, but it's incredibly competitive.
Yeah, it is competitive. Solo 7-2, but you make a good case for him. Paul, for you in this one?
I think I'm hovering on that territory here.
Oh,
yeah, telling you, lads. That is why now.
We've all got a different opinion in this as well.
I think that's all right, Gino. I think he's the one here. I think he can go one better than that. When last seen finishing second behind Stage Star over the extended 2.5 miles at Cheltenham back on January the 28th. He was beaten 3 3/4 lengths by the winner, and he pulled 10 lengths clear of the third. Boot Hill beat That's All Right Gino when they clashed at Newton Abbot in October, but that was over 2 miles. And as Frankie mentioned, I think the 2.5 trip might just stretch Boot Hill here. I think if Boot Hill is going to get 2.5, it would be here at Kempton. Quite a sharp and easy 2.5, but I think still it's going to stretch him. Frankie made a good case for Solo, and that's where I think That's All Right Gino will face his biggest challenge from Solo. However, I think all things considered, I think That's All Right Gino will have too much, and I think he'll see off all challengers under Gavin Sheehan.
Another strong case. I absolutely love it when we all go against each other. I absolutely do.
Something else is going to go and win. You can lay the top 3.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I've got a different opinion to you two. I think the way you play this race is you either think that Boot Hill's gonna improve for that step up and trip, or he's not. And I've got a different opinion to you two, that I think Boot Hill wants 2 mile 4. So he's my selection in this race. If you look at the race against That's All Right Gino, I think he was at Newton Abbot earlier on this season. He only beat him by 3/4 of a length, but he was flattered that day. Absolutely flattered. That's All Right Gino. If he really wanted to, Boot Hill could have won by much more. His performance after that to go and beat So Scottish obviously was a superb performance, because So Scottish, I think, got a seriously good handicap mark to go to war with at the Cheltenham Festival, something like the plate. So for Boot Hill to beat him that day, giving him a lot of weight away, I thought was a really good performance. I think if you look on, he's just improved again. You go to the race against John Bonn and Henry VIII, the grade 1. I think at one stage we've talked about this. I think a lot of John Bonn backers would have thought, he's getting a bit close here. He jumped brilliantly. Obviously, John Bonn was much better on the day, went on to win by 8 lengths. But that was a solid performance. So you can't knock what he's done. He's been seen twice more since then. He obviously went to Kempton over 2 miles. He's going up for 4 furlongs, but he handles the track. He beat Orkham Risk that day. Obviously, he's gone on to win the Betfair Hurdle. So the form's smart there. He was under a penalty last time against Tommy's Oscar at Doncaster. And for me, that day, he looked a bit slower. So I thought the step up and trip wouldn't be a problem. Tommy's Oscar put up a great performance. He couldn't give away to that horse, but he wasn't beating all that much. I think, although he's giving weight away again here to That's All Right Gino, and even though Frankie's put up a good case for Solo, the one I would be worried about is That's All Right Gino, because he just seems to be knocking on the door. And he's run last time out, when second at Cheltenham behind Stage Star. Stage Star put an unbelievable performance, and he's only finished just under 4, just over 4 lengths down, just under 4 lengths down to that horse. So that would be the one that worries me with Boot Hill. But if you look back throughout Boot Hill's career, he has run over 2 mile 4 on good to soft ground. That was at Uttoxeter. That was a really good performance. So he can stay the trip. And I think this time around he'll improve for it. And like you say, Paul, Kempton's a sharper track. So if he's going to get it, he'll get it here. I thought he just comes with the most class in the field. And I know his favourite is 7-4, but I actually think that's a fair price for me. I don't think that's too short at all. So yeah, Boot Hill for me, and we're all disagreeing. So have to go and see.
On Tweed Skirt.
Yeah, exactly. Tweed Skirt and JJ Riley are going to win that one, aren't they? Right, then we're staying at Kempton then for another competitive race, and it's their Coral Trophy handicap chase over 3 miles. Big field for this one, and obviously offers a bit of each way value, with the most firms going 4 places, one going 5. Paul, start us off in this one.
Yeah, I've gone with my former boss here, Tom George's Clondalk Castle. Johnny Burke on board. He won this race back in 2021 off his current mark of 154. He's only had the 4 runs since then, but he's kept good company. He ran in the Grade 1, the Betway Bowl at Aintree. He's running the Charity Hall Chase, the Betfair Chase, and he finished a well-beaten second behind Pic Dory over 2.5 mile in the Silvignaco Conti Chase at Kempton last month. The drop in class will no doubt suit. I think the step back up to 3 miles will also be more to his liking. He's obviously had his problems, but I think if the body is willing and able, I think Clondalk Castle can strike again here.
Yeah, Clondalk Castle 9-1. I think he's got a solid chance, and obviously that back form round the course in this race is what you've got to look at. And I think after such a long time off, his comeback run last time out wasn't bad at all, was it? Obviously, Pic Dory's gone and ran well against Shishkin last time out in a Grade 1, and after that long off, I thought it was a solid run. So you make a good case, 9-1. Like I said, there's 4 places on offer with most firms. So yeah, definitely got a good chance of hitting the frame. Frankie, for you in this one?
I think you got to give a mention to Christian Williams going for the across the card double again. He's got Cap de Nord and then Kitty's in the Eider, which he did. Cap de Nord, you watched the horse's last 3 runs, that mark was falling, and then was definitely trying when came second. Won really well last time. Has gone up. I think the handicap's been quite harsh, but I'd say they've got a good grip of Christian getting these well handicapped for big races. So he's stuck a £5 claimer on. So that may or may not be the difference. Effectively racing off of 130. So they'll be trying with Cap, that's for sure. The one I'm probably most interested on though is St. Calvados. Without trying to sound overly disrespectful to David Maxwell, but he knows he's not a top jockey. I mean, this horse is a Cheltenham Festival horse. He was second to Min and had A Plus Tard in third in Orion Air behind him previously. He's ran in King George's. He's come third and fourth, I think, in consecutive King George's. He's been a Grade 1 horse. David Maxwell bought him, I think, and has raced on him twice over 2.5 and done nothing. He's just been a passenger, really. And that has caused this horse to have a mark of 154. It hasn't had a mark of 154 since its first start over fence, and it started over fences. They got it from France and didn't even have any hurdle form. So, like, for me, this is a 160 horse, and provided he has still retained his ability, and the jockey has been the difference rather than the horse. With Cobden back on off a 154, I think Cobden could be licking his lips here, thinking I've got a great chance. So we'll wait and see, and maybe I'm discrediting Mr. Maxwell too much, but the jockey change for me after a falling mark is quite attractive.
I think St. Calvados is very interesting, and for all the reason you made, and like you say, no disgrace to David Maxwell. He puts a lot into the sport, doesn't he?
It's brilliant. But he's been.
I love his enthusiasm.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. But when you look at it on the face of it, Harry Cobden is obviously an upgrade in the jockey department. Harry Cobden's probably one of the best jockeys around at the moment, isn't he? So
yeah.
Just wait till you have your midlife crisis, Frankie. When you and Brian Arnold go head to head in your charity race, and then you get the bug, the itch, and you go and buy 10 horses. We'll be getting onto you and fighting by 5 years.
I don't want to be saying the same. Get joked off.
Yeah, St. Calvados, but 13-2. You made a good case there. It's just if he retains all that form, he is not an easy ride at all, is he? And I think Maxwell found that out over his last two runs, maybe going a bit too quick on him. So yeah, 13-2, and has been backed in the market. I really like one actually in this, and I know it's competitive handicap, but I just think there are 4 places on offer. Our Power for Sam Thomas, 8-1. I think it's got a solid chance of hitting the frame here. A very, very classy handicapper at this level, having not been overused throughout his career. He was seen finishing third in this race last year off 136 behind the well-handicapped Cap de Nord and Kitty's Light for Christian Williams. Off the back of that, he was sent to the Ultima, and he was £2 higher that day off 138 and ran an absolute cracker to finish 5th of 24. And we know how competitive that Ultima is. Seen just the once this season in the Grade 3 Bateau London Gold Cup over 3 miles at Ascot, and he won really well that day. He's gone up £5 for that of 141, but he hasn't been seen since that. So my only slight niggle is why haven't we seen him? Has there been something up? I haven't heard anything. But if he's all good and he's just been kept fresh, he has got the edge on these horses from a fresh angle. These have been running and running and running, like a lot of them have anyway. Where he's going to be only having one run, fresh horse. He's only £5 now. He's an 8-year-old, so I think he'll take that in his stride. 141, I wouldn't see that as a problem. I can think he still has the handle on the handicapper. He loves good ground, absolutely loves good ground. Kempton is going to be good ground, definitely, because there's no rain issued in the weather forecast, and unless they water heavily, which they probably won't, it will be fairly quick ground, and that's exactly what he loves. I really like our power. I think he's absolutely solid at 8-1 to hit the frame. But we've all put a good cases there around the similar price mark. So it is competitive. We'll have to see. Right then, another top class event this weekend, and the only one from Newcastle on ITV is the Vertum Eider handicap chase over the attritional 4 mile, 1 furlong. This race, I absolutely love it. Even though it's full of plodders and sloggers, I absolutely love it because it just reminds you of races like the National and stuff like that when you've got a war of attrition and you see these horses staying on. Frankie, we'll start with you. Who takes your fancy in this one?
Look, I know it's a huge field over 4 miles, and siding with a favourite is a bit backwards. But I said that Christian would be going for the double, and I think Kitty's does have a really strong chance here. Will not be bothered by the good ground. Is a bit of a plodder, so 4 miles actually suits, to be honest. The reason this horse continually placed last season and before was just because it didn't have any speed, but would keep on going and would always run into a place. If you follow kind of what Cap de Nord has done and that falling mark to then hit a bit of form for these big races, if Kitty's follows suit, then you'd have to fancy him. Look, the form of recent hasn't been the best, but this horse runs its best races around this time of year. And if Christians are coming into form now, then carrying 11.4, is it? Yeah, off a marker 132. I mean, this horse has been competitive in the mid 140s, so could be a bit of a steal, could be well handicapped. He will be having a crack at the double again. He's got the market leaders of both of those races. And I think Kitty's probably represents the best chance for him. Yeah,
Kitty's Light's got a absolutely massive chance. Obviously, he won this race last year, didn't he? With Win My Wings that went on to, was it the Scottish National, I think, or something like that, or went on to win a race.
Yeah.
Like Cap de Nord, Kitty's Light, Win My Wings, they're all very similar types of horses that absolutely love a trip, and he campaigns into getting down to a handicap mark. So even though he's 11-4 favourite, he's definitely got a big chance. Paul, for you?
I'd love to see Bushy Park win it for Philip Kirby and Tommy Dowson. Used to ride a bit for Phil. Used to ride quite a lot for Phil when he first started training, and managed to bang in a few winners from him. So that'll tell you how good a trainer Phil Kirby is. However, having said that, I've gone with Sam's Adventure for Brian Ellison and Henry Brook. Sam's Adventure is the winner of this race last year off a handicap mark of 139. He then lost his way a bit. He only completed on 2 of his next 7 starts. He was well beaten on both of those completed runs. But the application of visors have brought a revival here on his last 2 starts. He finished 3rd behind Bushy Park, beating 5.5 lengths at Catterick 2 starts ago. He then ran out a ready winner of a conditional jockey's veterans chase, also at Catterick last time out. He's now rated 125. As I said, he won this race last year off 139. Yes, his form did take it did take a dip since then, but his last 2 runs with the visors on, as I said, have sparked a revival. I think if Henry can humour Sam's Adventure round, I think he has a serious chance once again.
Yeah, just looking through, I think he won this race. I think it was 2021. Looking through, Win My Wings, but he still showed he can win this.
Yeah,
still showed he can win this race. But yeah, you make a solid case there, and he has been well back actually into 15-2. second favourite at the moment. So Sam's Adventure, and obviously Brian Ellison's very local as well, and he'll want to win around here.
He'll love to have a win, yeah.
He's got a big chance. I've dutched this race. I've got two, and I've gone for a win and an each way perspective. Frankie, I'm all aboard Kitty's light train with you. I think the mark of 132 is so lenient. We've seen this year with the British handicapper. He's dropped horses massively, giving them big chances, and we've seen that a lot of horses have gone on to use that breach in the handicap to go and win races. I think this is another case that Christian Williams has been setting this horse up all season for quite a valuable pot, and he's now got a mark of 132. He started the season off 144, so he's dropped what, £12. And like you said, he absolutely loves a staying trip. If you look at some of the races he's ran in, and he's finished second and third in the Bet365 Gold Cup at Sandown over 3 mile 5, second in the Scottish Grand National over 4 miles. He absolutely loves a trip, this horse.
I think a lot of people consider this horse a bit older than he is. He's only 7 years old, but he just has had so many runs that you feel like he's been around for years. But he is only a 7-year-old, so there shouldn't be any regression.
No, I completely agree. But if you look from when he was second in the Scottish National and the third last season in that Bet365 Gold Cup, look at his run since then: 6th, 6th, 8th, 7th over 2 mile 6, 3 mile. You know what's happening there. He's been absolutely set up for this, hasn't he? No way that he'd want to go and win any of those races. No way he could. Drop down from 144, 142, 140, 137, down to 135 last time over 3 mile. And he probably put his best run up so far. He was third behind Anne Sam and Smarty Wild. Yes, he was still nearly 20 lengths behind the winner. But it was a much better run. He's dropped another £3 for that, down to 132, like I say. He's actually, if you look, he's £11 lower than when he was second in the Scottish National last season. If that doesn't say to me that this horse is well in, I don't know what does. And I know he's 11-4 in a big field handicap, but
yeah, no,
it's absolutely screaming out to me that this horse has got to go close, and this is his big day. But from an alternative angle and looking to play one each way, because you will be getting extra places in a race like this, and the one that caught my eye for Sam and Jonathan England was No Cruise Yet at 16-1. Been clipped in, was 20-1 when I was looking yesterday. This horse looks to still be progressing off and still only on a mark of 116, could have a lot more to offer. Very, very consistent, this animal. Not finishing outside the top 3 in all of his last 9 races, going on to win 4 of those events. He's just got a perfect profile for this race. He won 2 handicap chase at the back end of last term at Carlisle, and he was seeking a hat-trick on his return at the same track, and he finished a short head second, not disgracing himself at all, giving weight away that day. Up £1 for that. Next run at Haydock off 109. He managed to see off Papa Poutine by a head over 3 mile, 4.5 furlongs to get back to winning ways. He was then last seen at Bangor in the North Wales National Handicap Chase over 3 mile, 5.5 furlongs, and he finished a good second to Bretney, and he was giving away over a stone that day. Bretney, Henry Daly horse. So Paul, you'll like the mention there. You love a bit of Henry Daly on the pod, don't you? He's up
absolutely
up to £4 for that, up to 116. He'll get the trip. He's got ideal conditions on good ground. You look at his form, or good to soft ground. But he's very versatile, actually, this horse as well, because he can mix it on soft as well. So I've got no problem whatever happens. If the rain does come over in Newcastle, if it doesn't, I've got no problem with his conditions. And like I said, off 116, I think he can run a solid race. He's 10 stone 2 near the bottom of the weights. No Cruise Yet for the England team. I thought could play a part of it in the frame. So yeah, they're my 2 in the race. Right, the final event we're going to cover on this podcast, and the final race on the afternoon on ITV from Kempton, is the Grade 2 Dovecote and Novices Hurdle over 2 miles. This race, it's a strange one because they've upped the prize money for this race, but it's seen like, I think it's probably one of his worst fields today, which is obviously not great to see for British racing. But it's good they've upped the prize money. But anyway, the top of the market, 6-4 favourite Hansard, who's looked impressive for Gary Moore chasing a hat-trick. Rhubarb for Paul Nicholls. He now has the first-time hood because he looks a very tricky character. You Can Tango, 11-2 for Ollie Murphy. Imperial Bead, 6-1 for the John Joe O'Neill team. Mullenbeg, 16-1. Cape Legend, 22-1. And Postmark 28-1. Another bullet for Milton Harris. Paul, you kick us off in this one. Who'd you like?
Well, I love it. An Noel Feely own runner. Looks like great fun. I think Nolan and Dave Cross have done a fantastic job. It looks like great fun. And it's hard to get away here from the Gary Moore trained Hansard. Son Jamie takes the bounce. He's a perfect 2 from 2 over hurdles since joining the Moore team from Charles O'Brien's. He was a winner on his last start for Charles in Ireland before being snapped up by Current Connections. He was pretty impressive on both victories. First start at Huntingdon. His last time out was at Plumpton. Like I said, Dave Cross and Noel, they're doing a fantastic job. And I hope Hansard can start the party at Kempton for them on Saturday.
Yeah, I honestly think that this Noel Feely Racing Syndicate is one of the best syndicates I've seen for a long time. They honestly, all the horses they get seem to be class. They seem to be winning all over.
Winning a lot of races, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he's probably more like better judgment of picking the horse than it is luck, but I think he's absolutely brilliant. Everyone involved with that, because they've had some great days already, and long may it continue, because obviously both brilliant jockeys and running a great syndicate now. So yeah, Hansard 6-4. Chasing the hat trick, you make a good case, and obviously he's got a big chance, hasn't he? Frankie, for you?
Yeah, the favourite is the one they got to beat. It's just maybe a little bit short for me. I wasn't quite convinced to back him at 6-4, although the market reflects, and there's a reason why he is 6-4. But I'm happy to try and have one at a bit more of a price. You Can Tango. I was really impressed with that second at Cheltenham behind Fenner Cross. Springwell Bay was in third that day, who's gone on to win quite impressively last weekend, was it? I know that then was entered at Sandown in the Grade 1 and pulled up, but it was shocking ground that day. Maybe he's not quite good enough for Grade 1 on heavy ground, but better ground again this weekend. They thought he was good enough to deserve his shot at Sandown, and I did like the second at Cheltenham the time before. So You Can Tango, You Can Tango. As an each way play, you'd still get a couple of places, wouldn't you? Yeah, you might get 2 places. Do a job for me.
Yeah, I think we've been swapping notes this week, Frankie, because you Can Tango. I just think you've got to absolutely forget his last run in the Tolworth. This horse wants good ground. He's going to get exactly what he wants here. It says it's soft when you're looking down the cards for this horse, but for me it was more heavy, and Sama showed that. Like he was just such a slog to get to the line in the Tolworth. He was pulled up 2 out. That's not his running. His runs before, like you said, at Cheltenham when second to Fenner's Cross, that was a cracking run. Springwell Bay's come out, obviously beat Attica at Ascot off the back of a break, so the form's solid there. Winning at Wetherby before that, beating Royal Mogul under a penalty, and then the time before that at Aintree, he bolted up. And these runs are all on good top of the ground, so you just got to forget about his run last time out, and I think he's a value in here. I think for the same reasons, even though he has got the best form in the race so far, Hansard, I think 6-4 short. I think he's got to show it. You've also got to take, like, even though I said I absolutely love the syndicate and they have been winners all the time, you've got to take it on the individual horse. Look, it's not the greatest renewal in the world, is it, for a Grade 2? But 11-2, You Can Tango, I thought was a value in here, and I think it's got a great chance of going close. Right then, chaps, that's the podcast finished this week. That's all 7 races on ITV covered, both a bit of flat and jumps racing covered. And now it is time for the naps across the weekend, please. And Paul, we will start with you this week. I don't think there was much from Dundalk last week. Is there anything this week?
One to keep an eye on. Just when you mentioned there, James, it's hard to believe that's the last podcast of February. Like, February's just gone.
Oh,
like that, hasn't it? It's
rapid. Absolutely
right. Hard to believe the next one will be back in March. Yeah. Nothing from Dundalk last week. Again, this evening there's 1 or 2 obvious chances, but there's nothing screaming out that's well in. Horse in the 7 o'clock race. It's the Apprentice Handicap over the extended mile and 2 trip. I do like Power Drive. Always gives his running for Paul and Ciara Flynn. Does like to go forward, likes to go from the front. Slight concern would be it's an apprentice race, so there's going to be plenty of competition for the lead. However, Power Drive is ideally drawn in stall 1, and I think he ought to be competitive once again. You mentioned Henry Daly also. Going to have to give a horse called Mickey Moto a shout, who makes his debut for Henry on Sunday at Hereford. And Mickey Moto's for sale at the moment. So I'd imagine it could be all systems go to try and get an owner for Mickey Moto at Hereford on Sunday. So keep an eye on that one. But the nap, as I mentioned, I think Hansard is a bit of value. He was a shade of odds on last night when I was looking at that race. 6-4, I think, is a bit of value in that 340 at Kempton on Saturday. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, That's All Right, Gino, is my nap for this week.
Yeah, that's all right, Gino. 3-1, and you made a solid case for him. And it's a really good race, and he's got a big chance. Frankie, your nap, please, this weekend.
I think Harry Cobden's licking his lips at St Calvados off a 154 in the 3 o'clock. Look, it's a very competitive race, but it's a fun and a solid each way bet. And I probably got to mention Nusret as well. Don't know if anyone's into backing 4-1 shots each way, but I couldn't see that out of the top 3. And I think it should win that race as well. But yeah, Harry Cobden on St Calvados for me will be the nap in the 3 o'clock.
Yeah, currently 13-2. And you know what? We've agreed most the whole way. And now I'm taking you on with a nap in the same race. Our power in the same race, Frankie just mentioned, 8-1. I think he's absolutely solid each way contender. Fresher horse than most. A couple of extra places on offer with 4 places, one firm offering 5. I just can't see him not running well off only £5 higher than winning at Ascot last time out. 8-1. Lads, thanks as always. Like you said, Paul, you can't believe it's the end of Feb. We're only two and a half weeks away now.
Festival season.
From the Cheltenham Festival. But thanks as always for your selections this week. Hopefully we can have another good weekend with some nice winners. Please be sure to like this video, comment your selections or nap for across the weekend below. And make sure you subscribe to the Winners and Enclosure channel with our Cheltenham Festival preview coming up in the next few weeks. So be sure to look out for that. All the best, whatever you're backing, everyone, and thanks for watching.